I'm Adam Malkin, and welcome to It Ain't Rocket Science. We are in St. Louis at the Edward Jones Dome, where the NFL's St. Louis Rams play. Now, typically on any given Sunday, it's hand-to-hand combat in here, but for the first robotics competition, combat is a little more remote. We will bring you the winners of this year's Rebound Rumble, plus, drum roll please, we will also bring you the winning inventor and invention from the big Wouldn't It Be Cool If competition. Plus, flying cars, flying saucers all to come, but first, let's recap what It Ain't Rocket Science is all about. Our show is designed to show you different ways in which you can get involved in STEM education. And here's why it's important. In 2009, the International Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development did an assessment of world countries and compared how well they understood math and science. The United States placed 31st in math and 23rd in science. It isn't all bad news. A report from the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology shows some improvement in math and science scores, but economic forecasts show the country needs at least 1 million more college graduates in STEM fields. And that's where you come in. We're here to show you it can be done, and it's cooler than you might think. Over the next half hour, you will see a number of students engaged in competition and innovation. And while the battles may appear to be regional, there's actually a lot at stake globally as good old-fashioned American ingenuity is put to the test. First robotics teams competed in regional rebound rumbles across the country. More than 50 competitions total, from Los Angeles to Wisconsin and New York City, in a bracket that rivals March Madness. They battled it out, shooting hoops and balancing bots to score top marks to make their way to St. Louis. We'll find out who was crowned top bot later in the show. More than 100 years ago, Orville and Wilbur Wright pushed the envelope while at Kitty Hawk in North Carolina, and it seems that spirit of discovery and exploration are in the soil. It takes that type of inspiration to make a statewide science festival possible. Johnny Chappell explains.
This 3-story tall planet Earth is the can't-miss centerpiece of the Nature Research Center in downtown Raleigh. The 80,000 square foot showcase just celebrated its grand opening. Inside, you can immerse yourself in theater, investigate in laboratories, and inspect all sorts of interactive exhibits. It's part of the statewide North Carolina Science Festival and scientific proof that the Tar Heel State is much more than race cars and good barbecue.
As fire is just as it draws your focus, bubbles are elemental that way.
Oh, you and a donut!
Bubbleology explored the secret world of bubbles in Winston-Salem. Keith Johnson, the bubble guy, dazzled everyone with some pretty cool creations.
Build different sculptures. I'd be making large bubbles that would float through the air, bubbles with helium, bubbles with clouds inside, all trying to share more about the science of how they work and what we could do with them.
Johnson says he had no idea how popular his act would become. He's now amazing audiences around the country. His bubbles even floated through a music video recently in New York.
If you squeeze it, it hardens, and then if you just let it droop, it'll get all soft and squishy again.
How cool is that?
Really cool.
At Duke University in Durham, kids got their fingers full of the squishy stuff that ends up in our sneakers or even our ice cream. Goo, Goop, and Gack highlighted the soft materials we use every day.
The only way you're going to get people confident that they can do science is for them to have positive experiences doing science.
It's hands-on, feed-on, and on target for getting kids geeked about the next generation of crazy technologies.
They go home and they want to explore more. You know, they might not all end up being scientists or engineers, but we hope that that inspires them to learn a little bit more.
There you go.
Back in Raleigh, the Nature Research Center inspired more than 70,000 to come out for its 24-hour grand opening. Over 100 new exhibits helped bring science to life, and most in the crowd said they were simply blown away.
I really like the globe. It looks really cool.
Actually pretty cool. It's better than all the other museums around here.
And that's just a taste of almost 300 excellent events taking place from the Carolina Mountains to the coast. Organizers say they hope to encourage more kids to pursue STEM careers, which they say will encourage more businesses around the planet to invest in North Carolina. For It Ain't Rocket Science, I'm Johnny Chappell.
For many of us, our first exposure to science was through science fiction, either thanks to pages in a book or images on a screen. But how much of that is science and how much is fiction? Or how much is fiction just waiting for the science to catch up? Our Tara Lynn Wagner tries to answer some of those questions.
Long before we actually landed on the moon, we did it at the movies.
The very first one was about a trip to the moon, and it had the rocket ship ending in the eye of the man in the moon, so it was pure fantasy.
Hence the name of the genre, science fiction. From Martians landing on Earth to galaxies far, far away, audiences have been escaping into sci-fi since the dawn of cinema. But in his book Hollywood Science, author Sidney Perkowitz argues these films are far more than entertainment. For one thing, they can be very reflective of the time in which they were made. Take, for instance, the evolution of the villain.
The Doomsday Machine is terrifying?
It used to be that the physicists were the villains because the physicists made the atomic bomb. Now it's the biological scientists because they know how to make terrible viruses.
At the same time, he says, these films can also serve as a glimpse into a potential future.
Giving hints about what's down the road that we need to worry about, like global warming or nuclear power.
Which isn't to say everything dreamt up by Hollywood is or will be scientifically possible. On screen, robots have made great advances, but in real life, we're less rosy and more Roomba.
The movies do more with robots than the researchers have done yet, although they're catching up.
And science is also catching up to what he calls sci-fi's weirdest invention, teleportation.
You can teleport a photon, a particle of light, from point A to point B, apparently without it going through the intervening space. This is so improbable that people don't believe it, but it's experimentally verified.
So does that mean we're on the verge of...
Scotty, beat me up.
Probably not. A whole person like you and me takes too much quantum data, so we probably won't be able to do it.
But perhaps the greatest achievement of science fiction, he says, is its ability to transport people mentally, to inspire them to explore seemingly impossible ideas, and maybe even boldly go into a career in science.
In fact, I'm on a committee to think about a way to get this kind of idea across nationally, so that science fiction is still exciting, still makes money for the studios, all of those good things from the film industry viewpoint, but also helps people think maybe a scientific career is for me. That would be the best outcome.
If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
For It Ain't Rocket Science, I'm Tara Lynn Wagner.
And speaking of science fiction, we've all imagined an airborne world built around the Jetsons and flights of fancy as imagined in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. But hold on to your hat, because age-old dreams have now become flying machines.
Take off and land at an airport, fold up your wings, drive home, park in your garage.
That story just ahead.